In this video, I would like us to talk about Filament resources. And resources are basically static classes that can be used to build CRUD interfaces for our application. And before we do that, I would like us to first of all just check a few things which we didn't talk about in our previous video. When we go to the public directory, we have two folders, that is CSS and JavaScript. And when you click on them, you find that both the CSS and JavaScript are all Filament classes in this case. So those ones are copied there to assist us to work with Filament. And we also have inside our providers, we have a folder called Filament, and we have admin panel provider. And inside here, we have sort of like the many setups that we may require within our applications. For example, we may change the primary color to a different color. For example, if I change it to blue. And if we go back to check in our application, you will find that now the theme colors are different. Now we are having some shade of blue on the side, and that will reflect also even in other forms and every other thing that you have. So in other words, the provider also has some settings which one can be able to change or add to be able to have a better application. And then you can also see we are also having the middlewares that are being passed in here. And as you can see inside our dashboard, we have the two widgets, that is Filament and the welcome with the username. If we want to remove it, we can be able to just comment it out at this place. And what will happen is that if I am to save, so now if we are to refresh, you will find that our dashboard does not have those widgets any longer. So basically they are passed in through this specific place, but it is not the only place where you can be able to pass in the widgets. We will be able to look at that in another video. There is so much that we can be able to set up inside our admin panel provider, but that I want to set it for another video. So let us go ahead and see now how we can be able to create a resource. And by default, for a new Laravel application, we usually have a user model. So if we go to app HTTP and we go to models, we have user.php. So I want us to create a resource that will, in this case, display the users if there are any users in our database. And we can also use it to create, edit, and also do all those actions on our user. Now, what I want us to do is to go to the app service provider and be able to unguard the all models from what do we call? We call it this mass assignment. In Laravel, whenever you are creating a resource, usually go to the model and then you set up maybe protected fillable or protected guarded to prevent a mass assignment. But since in Filament the data is passed in securely, we can unguard that such that we will not need to do it for every model. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to just have model :unguard like that. And then of course we will above here import the class, and the class that we have imported is Illuminate Database Eloquent Model. So basically that is what we have. And once we have that, now we can be able to save data inside our database without any issues and without requiring now to go to the user model and provide the fillable property like what we have here. So this won't be even necessary in this case. So I can even just go ahead and uncomment it. And comment it out like that. So basically that which we have set in the service provider, we will take care of whatever issues that we'll be able to get as we work with this. So I want us to go ahead and create a resource. And in this case, the resource I want us to create is a resource that is called user resource. So I'm going to run the command php artisan make filament resource, filament hyphen resource, like that. And then once we have it like that, then we can be able to put the name of our resource. So in this case, I will call it user. There are several things in which you can be able to do whenever you are creating a resource. You can be able to have it like this. When you have it like this, then you will have a resource that will be created, but it will be having several pages. That is the edit page, the create page, the list page, and so on and so forth. But if you attach hyphen simple, what is going to happen is that it's going to create a model which now you can be able to use for the create and edit methods. But we will be able to use that in probably some of the other resources that you'll be creating. For this one, I would just like us to click enter and then create our resource. So basically, if we go to our app directory, now we have a new folder that is called Filament. And now we have the user resource. And above here, we are importing whatever it is that we need. And inside here, we have the form schema, which will show the form for our data. And then we have also the columns, the filters, the actions, and then we have bulk actions, and then get relations, get pages, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, we are having index where we have get pages, we have index, we have edit, we have create, and then the routes that these values, these pages will be routed to. And if we look inside this folder above here, we now have those files that are being made reference to. We have create user, edit user, and list user. So maybe you can click and open. So you can see in create user, there's nothing fancy about it. In edit user, we also have nothing much to say about it. And then we also have in list users, again, something in there. Now I want us to go back to our admin panel and refresh, and I want you to see something. That automatically now we have users as one of the items in our navigation bar. So if I'm to click on users, it will take us to a page that is called users. And if we click on new user, we are redirected to a page that is called create user. And of course, if we want to go to edit user, we can be able to pass in here edit. Now, I would like us to go ahead and see how we can be able to have the user, in this case, the details in our table when we want to create a user. So let us go ahead and do that. So we will go inside our user resource, and inside here we have the form where we pass in the form schema, and we can be able to have forms. And then we have components, and here what it is that we are referring to is our database column. So in this case, it's supposed to be forms, components, and then text input make. That is the syntax, like that. So then we have name. And then after that, we can put a comma and do the same for email, the same for email, the same for maybe something that we call password. So I believe in our users table, that is what we have, like that. And now if we go to our create user form and refresh, now we have the input, so name, email, and password, like that. And then we can also be able to pass in some validation. So in this case, we can say required on the name. So if we go to our form and refresh, now you'll find that home will have a red asterisk to show that it's a required field, and you cannot be able to click create without inputting the values in that name field. So we can go ahead and do the same for all the others. Maybe we can say something like the maximum, so max length, and for max length we can be able to pass in 255 because the data type of our table, in this case the user table in database migrations, if you open the user table, you can see that we have the data type for name as a string, like that. So basically that's the reason why we are having it like that. So after that we can continue and see if we'll be able to finish up and be in a position to submit. So we can say even the email is required, and also maybe a maximum of max length, and then 255. And then for the password, we can say it is required. We can also just mention that it is a password. So let us refresh and see what happens. So if I'm to refresh, and now we can be able to try and type in the password, and you can see it is masked. And as you can see, our password is not revealable. If we want it to be revealable, we can be able to add revealable here, like that. So just as we do it like that now, if we are to refresh, now we have something that can assist us to reveal our password. So if I type in password like that, you can be able to check it out and we'll be able to see it in clear text. So in this case, once we have it like this, we cannot be able to have password confirmation because now it is not necessary for us to do that. So now after that, we can be able to also, on the password, we can hide the password field on edit. So we can type hidden on edit like that. And now once we have it like that, it will not be shown when the user now wants to edit their details or whoever wants to edit those details. So I would like us to go ahead and see if we can be able to create a user and save the user in the database. So I want us to have another user because already we have one user. Maybe just by doing that, we can go ahead and just display the user that we have in the database. So in this case, we are not having the user being shown before we even go ahead and attempt to create a new user. So if we want to show a user, or in other words, we want to show the list of our users and their names and all that, we can be able to come to our column inside the user resource again here, and we can be able to check it. So we can have text column, make, and if we want, we can say we want the name of a user, and then we can go ahead and just copy the same and have email like that. And once we do that, then in our Filament application, we can be able to have our user listed. So let us wait and see. So now we have William and william@example.com as the email. If we click on edit, now our intention was to hide the password. So the only thing, as you can see, we just have name and email. By default, when you look at the forms that we are having, you only have that the forms are in two columns. For example, if you click new user, you can see that the columns here are two. So this one and this one. And that is by default. If you want to override that one, you can go ahead and do that by just passing in here and saying the columns, and you want them to be a different number. For example, if we put 4 and save, I would like us to go ahead and refresh and see. And now you can see now the columns are many. So we have 1, 2, 3, like that. So if you change the number here to a different number, maybe 6, again, you will find that you will have a remainder of space on the side because the columns will become even smaller. Still, if you want a single column, you can be able to do that. And that will be fine. So now I would like us to just attempt and see if we can be able to save a new user or to create a new user. So we will have a user called James. You have James at email.com. The password, just the word password, and we can click on create, or we can click on create and create another. So if we click on create and create another, it will create a format, but it will not redirect to the edit page or the list page. If we have set it like that, it will just go back to this form and create for us another user. But if we do create, then now it will redirect us to a different page. So in this case, it is taking us to the edit user. So after we have created the user, we are taken to edit user. You may want to override this and change and decide where you want to be taken instead of being taken to the edit user. If we want, instead of redirecting to the edit user and redirect maybe to a different page, we can be able to go to the create page class here inside the create user, and we can be able to create a method here which we are going to call protected function get redirect URL. And once we have it like that, we can be able to say where we want us to be redirected to. So we can say return this get resource get URL index. And by doing like that, I want us to try again and see what happens if we attempt to create a new user, if it will redirect us to edit or if it will redirect us to a different place. So let us do that. So now we create another user called Jen, and we have Jen at Gmail, Jen at example.com, and the password, just the word password, and go ahead and create. And now you can see we are being redirected to the create resource like that, or in other words, the list pages. So that is what you can be able to do. Sometimes you may want the tables to be searchable. So what you do inside your user resource, you can be able to just say that you want it to be possible for a user to be searched by their name. So you can say searchable. And once you have it that way, if we are to refresh, I do not know why it is not catching. So searchable. Oh, we do that on the column, not here. I was wondering why it was not working. So the searchable will go on the text column. So in this case, where we have the name and the email, so we can have this as searchable, and we can even make the email also searchable that way. So once we have that in our text column, if we go and attempt to refresh, now what happens is that we have a search box here. If we are able to type in William, and now you can see it is searching the table, and we are getting search William as an active filter, and we are filtering our data by the name or the value in which I have typed here. But of course, if we are to refresh, we go back to the initial way of doing things. We have looked only at the text input. I would like us to maybe have a little bit more. So the only component that we're using here is text input. I would like us to have a little bit more just for the sake of explanation, nothing more, because in our user table there is nothing else that we are saving. So in this case, we can have forms components, and then what it is that we are having is maybe select make, and here probably we can say we want to have the role of the user. You can be able to pick the values dynamically from a database, but for now I would like us to just list them. So in this case, we can have admin, and we can have the normal user or something of that sort. And now if we go to our page and refresh, in this case now it will be on the create user. So if we click on new user, And now you have the role, and you can be able to select it. You can also have date picker, so forms, components, and then you have date picker. So then full colon make, for example, birthday, probably the birthday of the user. And if we are to save and attempt to check it out, again, now you can see we have a nice place where we can be able to select the date. We will be able in due time to look at all those things in more detail. We can have something like time picker. And if we are to refresh again, now instead of date, now we are having time. And you can also have date time picker and so on and so forth. So basically these components are many, and probably we can be able to maybe just look at them as we go on, looking at whatever it is that we have in our, whatever it is that we'll be working on. Of course, I will talk about filters in due time and every other thing, as long as we get the data that that can push us to be able to talk about those things. I believe this is a good introduction to the Filament resource, and maybe how to create a CRUD application using filament.php. I haven't touched on relations, I haven't touched on many things, but hang in there. We will slowly by slowly go in and mention all those things. And specifically, if we reach at a point whereby we create a small application where there are tables that are related, we can be able to probably learn a little bit more as we continue. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing. If you have a comment, you can go ahead and comment in the comment section. Thank you.